You sell dildos.
Can we get it back?
You sell dildos.
Can we get it back to the topic?
You speak about 5-year-old girls being ready for sex.
Come on,
Listen, let's go back to the issue. Let's go back to the issue.
Let me ask a question.
Why are you shaking? I've got a vibrator in your pocket.
Come on, it's a serious.
I think he's got one of his daughter's vibrators.
Come on, leave it, please. I don't disagree.
Welcome back to Muslim Minds. We're going to be reacting to Mohammed Hijab versus Rabbi Shmuley. Explosive moments from the Piers Morgan podcast.
I don't know if y'all saw the whole thing, but it was a pretty hilarious debate. Even though it's a serious topic, I mean, like, everyone here has such a kind of large character, so it was very interesting to watch. I'd encourage you guys to watch the whole thing.
It was very crazy. Yeah, we already watched it.
We watched it, yeah. We're going to go over the kind of the bigger highlights.
So let's dive right in.
So, Mohammed, let me ask you about Hamas.
I want to first, before you do that, I want to commend you, Piers, honestly, because bringing me on for the second time, I have to commend you. And the fact that you actually condemned the settlements is very good. But people want to know, do you think the IDF are a terrorist organization?
No.
You don't think there's
a... That's what Mohammed did here. He's kind of flipping the narrative. Because usually, for some reason, anytime someone pro-Palestinian is on the panel or on the discussion table, they're usually the first one on the hot seat of being asked if they support Hamas. But now Mohammed is trying to flip the script. Do you support the IDF as terrorists? Because, I mean...
Wait, but actually, do you condemn what Hamas did on October 7th? That's a good point, though, because even though... Doesn't matter what side you're on, Israel's doing major atrocities more than... There's no... What's it called? There's no... This is not proportionate response. It's just stupid.
9,000 children.
Like now, it's like 13,000 innocents.
Yeah, the question even, Piers Morgan with his moral quandary is like, what is the what is a proportional response? How many children is it okay
and
for
according
this?
To many Israeli, like, people in power, there is no proportionate response, like Ben Shapiro said, so it's just dumb.
So you can just eliminate, like, the thing is, look, for those who are even advocating for Israel, defending Israel, saying they have a right to defend themselves, whatever's happening to the Palestinians is justified or warranted, where is the line drawn when Hamas is fully extinct? I mean, as what has been gone over in this interview here, debate, Mohammed Hijab, just looking at the figures, has brought up a good point that, the ratio of death right now of civilians versus Hamas would end up being over time a total of 3 million total Palestinian deaths to fully wipe out all of Hamas, just comparatively by the numbers, right? So, I mean, if we continue along this trend to get rid of Hamas fully and entirely, I mean, you're looking at a state of the Palestinian people where they can never come back. And is that really justified? If that's the case, then whatever Israel has been doing to Palestinians with confirmed seizing of their land, illegal settlements, killing of civilians before October the 7th in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip, now continuous bombarding of mainly civilians and lying about Hamas bases being underneath hospitals and other, swaths of lies that everybody has heard. So it's like you have all these lies, you have all this oppression. Where do we draw the line? Just until they get rid of all of them? That's why people are calling it a cleansing or a genocide.
Okay, well, if you look at the UN definition of terrorist organization, they say killing civilians for political...
So you're asking my opinion.
No, the UN definition, according to the UN definition, is killing civilians for political objectives. Why are they not terrorist organizations?
Well, you've asked me a straight question. I don't think they are terror organizations.
So when you see babies like this, the ones who kill babies like this are not terrorists.
It's horrific.
So the people
because you can talk about the stats, but to actually understand what you're talking about, it's like, here you go.
You can have your beliefs, but once you see dead kids, innocent,
what can you say?
For any human, it brings a difference to your head.
Yeah, we've gone over
it's
this.
Like, am I actually right? Am I actually wrong? Like, it makes you think about it.
And we've gone over this in past videos, which is like, what is a good way to handle these kind of situations? Even if you're Israel, right? Go in with your men. And I know that now they're on the ground, but before that, there is no need to bomb civilians indiscriminately, especially if Hamas is hiding among them. It is not morally upright to go in and just level everything in its wake just at the hopes of killing Hamas. You have special forces for a reason. You have a military for a reason. Send them in from the get-go. And even, there'll be more bloodshed on the, with the military casualties, but that is what the military is for. There is a sacrifice with every nation. That's why it's such an honorable and noble occupation for someone to take on, defending your country, right? But no, rather just to protect soldiers or maybe reduce the casualties or whatever, you're going to have how many thousands of children who will never have a full life. Their lives are taken just for living in Gaza. They don't even have a choice. You can say Hamas this, Hamas that. It's not like that. What do the kids have to do with this? What do most of the civilians have to do? They're regular people in Hamas. They just live their life.
terrorists.
Well, let me respond.
Yes.
Let me respond. We'll
It's not your turn.
You can both get into this. Here's my response to that. And I thought carefully about this. I'll be very honest about my own feelings. I have a real moral quandary about this because as a father, I hate these scenes of kids being killed in Gaza. It's horrific, right? We all know it's horrific.
Well, are they a terrorist organization, though?
I'm about to explain to you what I think my position is. My position is after what happened on October the 7th, it was so barbaric, so disgusting.
So you can kill children.
You know what's interesting? Piers, in every single Palestinian kind of discussion he's had on his show, has said those words almost verbatim every show. It's as if he has to say it. He has to continuously bring up the events on October 7th are so horrific, so barbaric, so this, so that. But then for the next 40 days, that has been dwarfed, by the way, completely overshadowed by the horrendous and cruel bombarding and killing of Palestinian civilians using illegal weapons like white phosphorus, and just the complete level of infrastructure damage and loss of civilian life, 50% which are children. Now, that is something you've never heard of before, but you don't hear him with that same kind of plight or same kind of sadness speaking to that subject, which I think is very
cool. Like if they believe that one event is so barbaric, then what about this whole event? Like two wrongs don't equal a right, so it doesn't make sense.
It's a clear overreaction. That's why there's a whiplash across the world to what Israel is doing. But people are blindly defending it, saying, "Oh, no, it's okay." You're not really considering what you're seeing, or even what you're saying.
Well, no, what you can do.
That's exactly what terrorists say, by the way.
Let me answer your question.
This is not a debate. This is someone else becoming the host of the show and now interviewing you. I thought we're being interviewed. Mohammed, you and I are being interviewed. You're not here to interview him.
You're going to have your chance.
Mohammed, you can put it down.
Don't make him lose control of his own show. You do this all the time. I'm not going to let it happen tonight.
All right, Rabbi Shmuley, let me answer.
No. Stop interviewing the interviewer and be respectful. And be respectful.
Let me respond.
Tell me, sorry, is it a terrorist organization or not?
No.
Why not?
I do not believe so.
They kill civilians for political
You have to let me answer.
Go ahead.
Okay. Here's my answer to that. When Hamas did what they did, two things. One, Hamas knew exactly what Israel's response would be. They knew they would come incredibly hard back.
I don't absolve them.
Wait a minute. I'm not absolving anybody.
I'm not absolving them.
Okay.
I'm saying the West Bank is West Hamas. Where's Hamas?
You have to let me answer. You
got 44 children killed like this in the West Bank.
This is ridiculous.
Wait a minute, Rabbi Shmuley.
Before he did this debate, he went on X on Twitter and said, "I'm only doing it for equal time." And then he is violating that. I never asked for equal time. I just want to be heard, but he won't even let me be heard. Let me explain something to you. You said in a video the other day, and you can look me in the eye, you said that Jews are now trembling. Muhammad, I am not. No, don't interrupt me. I am not trembling. It's all on my Instagram page. Now, you see this yarmulke? It means that I represent something. I'm an ambassador. You're an ambassador of Islam. You are talking about a religion that started the world's first universities, educated women. Fatima started the first university in the 9th century in Fez, Morocco.
Irrelevant.
Now we have a man who says,
you know, what a Dajjal he is, bro. This is what Dajjal is like. Okay, he's like, no, literally. No, actually, he's talking about, Islam is so great and it represents this and women's. All that is true, but he's using that to kind of try to reach the Muslim audience to kind of then propel his own narrative, which is completely horrendous, which is, in a way, justifying what is happening to the Gazans, that indiscriminate bombing. I mean, look at it from several perspectives, you know. If you're a U.S. citizen, if you're an American, like, do you really want your tax dollars in this current economic state to fund, you know, a war in the Middle East? Not even a war, but a genocide. Even if you don't, let's say you're not even pro-Palestinian and whatever, okay, but do you really want your money to be spent on something like that? The U.S. has enough problems on its own. We need to handle our own problems. What about the U.S. citizens? What about, you know, what we need? Right? So from a U.S. citizen perspective, I don't really see how you guys are in support of this at all. It's your billions of dollars of taxpayer money is going to this or going to Ukraine. Aren't you guys sick of your money going everywhere else but the United States? And then, you know, for those who, you know, care about the morality of this whole situation and all this, you know, look what's happening to these Palestinians. They want a right to live. They want a right to, you know, to independence. You know, they have had their land taken for 70 years and now they're forced into these small little pockets that have been attacked by Israeli forces for decades, and then when they respond in some kind of way, granted in a way that was very, you know, violent and killed a lot of innocent people, that does not warrant then an even further more catastrophic civilian death response from Israel, to the point where, you know, most of the murders or half of it are being done upon children. And you're not going to win that way. You're like Elon Musk said in one of his interviews that for every innocent civilian you kill, you are creating 10 more Hamas fighters.
He's a representative of Islam.
He's meant to be speaking to you, right?
He goes to Speaker's Corner. He speaks about whether 5-year-old girls are old enough for sex. He says that gay men are dying of AIDS as a punishment from God. And I'm sorry to have to say this to the listeners, that blood is gushing from they're backsides. They're better off. You know what it is? Because you are desecrating a great religion. Now let me tell you why. Let me tell you why it appeals. Why it's here. Because he will defend Hamas. I will. He will defend Hamas's butchery, savagery. He doesn't care that Hamas is an abomination to Islam because Islam, the children in Gaza are dying because Hamas uses them as bulletproof vests. The United States and France and England said yesterday that the Al-Shifa hospital is a military base. It has a tiny veneer. It has a tiny veneer of emergency rooms. But underneath all of it is a military base. And let me tell you something. If it's true that any of these countries care about the Muslims in Gaza because they believe what he's saying, that Israel's killing them, this is a map of all the countries that took place last week in Riyadh to save the Palestinians of Gaza from Israel. Do you know how many? That's Israel, a tiny thing. You know how many of them took in even one Palestinian from Gaza? Zero, nothing.
Why should they? Why should another country be forced to accept what's
the Arabs want to see Hamas. Don't intimidate me. Don't bully me. What is the definition of genocide? What's the definition? You always claim to be an academic. You're always touting your Oxford credentials. What is the definition of genocide? Genocide is where you target an ethnicity for extinction. Ethnicity, side, murder.
Yes, if you do it. If you kill 3 million Palestinians, are you genocidal? If you kill 3 million Palestinians, are you genocidal?
There are 1.8 million Muslim Arabs who live in total peace in Israel as equal citizens. In fact, Israel practices reverse discrimination against the Jews because the Jews are conscripted to fight Hamas. So, if Israel, excuse me, no, you will not interrupt me. If Israel, you will not interrupt me. You will not interrupt me. You will not interrupt me. You will not bully me. You will not interrupt me. I am not afraid of you. Stop saying the Jews tremble. Now, let me be clear. Let me be clear. Well, then you need to control your guests with all due respect. Okay, he said equal time, and there's no equal time. Now,
there's no equal time.
If Israel was interested in a genocide,
the rabbi's being a bit more on.
Why do they have 1.8 million equal Arab Muslim citizens who are in the Israeli Supreme Court, who are 1/3 of the medical profession? Do you know that an Arab judge put the president of Israel in jail for accused rape? That was Moshe Katsav. That's how little Israel's an apartheid state, genocidal state. This man sitting next to me, Mohammed Hijab, will not distinguish between self-defense when Hamas comes to brutalize and murder your people versus when an army like Britain, like France, stops, retaliates to simply protect their citizens. You don't believe the Jews should have a right to defend themselves. Say it outright then say it.
The Jews have a right to defend themselves.
They do.
Yes, they do.
So that's why we have to go.
Everybody has a right to defend themselves.
Has Israel gone too far in its response?
He just keeps talking. He doesn't let him respond.
No.
Brings out 20 things at once and you can't respond.
Yeah, machine gun.
And then when you gets proved wrong, then just move on to something else.
Exactly right. Yeah, and also he's making like kind of these mudslinging false arguments where
he's like an angry girlfriend or wife, just like come on, man.
He's accusing Mohammed Hijab of stuff he didn't even say. Like, oh, you're defending Hamas and their right to kill. Like, I don't know exactly what he said.
Jews don't have a right to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they do. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to look very convincing if you have to resort to lying just to make your point.
Yeah.
To the October the 7th terror attacks. Okay, Rabbi Shmuley, you have a minute starting now.
I just came here by taxi and passed the statue of Winston Churchill. That's in the lifetime of our parents, okay? He is the greatest British statesman of the 20th century. You know what he did when he had a genocidal...
He did his obsession with Winston Churchill. Yeah, he got the job done, but he also resorted to unnecessary levels of violence and was a racist. You should have seen what he said. He actually had a whole big kind of role to play with this whole kind of Israel taking over the Palestinian land and kind of speaking about how it's a necessity for them to kind of replace the people. I don't know the exact words of what Churchill said, but he was definitely cognizant and aware and in support of the Palestinian people essentially being replaced.
Dang, didn't know that.
threat, knowing that Hitler wanted to eviscerate, annihilate Britain. He carpet bombed all of Germany, Dresden, Essen, Hamburg. Israel has not even gotten close to that. Israel does not send its Air Force to carpet bomb cities. It sends in its military. I have a friend who died, six children, 39, because he was
the hell out of
personally
Gaza.
trying to stop a Hamas terror tunnel. Israel is surgical. Israel is only going after the fighters. Israel has opened humanitarian corridors for the Palestinians.
You can't call yourself surgical when 13,000 innocents have died. You know, how many, if they're trying to target Hamas, how many Hamas people have died?
100 to 1 ratio.
Like a few dozen, basically, compared to 13 and 14. It keeps going up.
All the while, you're creating more animosity for your own self. This is not the way to do it. This is not surgical. This is complete destruction and counterintuitive. Israel is garnering more haters now than ever, not just even on the Palestinian front, but globally.
Yeah, there's way more people that support Palestine now than Israel because it's just so clear.
Yeah,
the atrocities.
Palestinians to go south. Hamas shoots them and makes sure they don't go. Hamas builds its military structures. Right, Shifa Hospital is this much hospital and it's this much military. They love using Palestinians, and that's why they've stolen their money. They got about $16 billion from the international community. There isn't one bomb shelter in Gaza. They don't care about the civilians at all. Israel's doing the right thing.
Mohammed, you have a minute.
So because Hamas does XYZ, we can bomb 9,000 kids. That's what I'm hearing. Like, it's not an effective method if what you're gonna end up doing is just eliminating too many civilians for it to be worth anything. Oh, as long as it's not Israeli civilians, I guess it doesn't matter. If this was Israel, would you handle it with the same ferocity on your own land? Let's say you had a terrorist organization living. Take the United States for example. I've used this example before. Say Houston was harboring some terrorist organization. Okay, would the United States bomb Houston till they ensured there was no more individual left from that group? No, the U.S. would not do that because there would be far more civilian casualties. They would have to go about another way of doing this.
Extremely inhumane.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
The point of getting rid of terrorists and terror groups is to stop the unnecessary killing of civilian deaths. But you're going to do that by unnecessarily killing thousands of civilians.
I'm saying is the 100 to 1 ratio comes from the following figures. We know that 10,000 civilians have died. Of them, according to the IDF, as reported by The Guardian, dozens, they say, about 60 Hamas died, which we're being liberal by saying 100 to 1 figures. For every one Hamas, you have to kill 100 civilians. That's effectively what we're saying. If the trajectory continues as it is, then you have to kill 3 million Palestinian civilians in order to kill 30,000 Hamas fighters. If you want to extinguish them, eviscerate them, annihilate them, destroy them, you have to do that. Now you have Herzog, who is the president that you interviewed, saying that all Palestinians, they are responsible. This man is being more slippery. He's being more slippery than the lubricants that he sells in his daughter's sex shop. And that's the reality of the situation.
I forgot.
Did you really just say that? You know, you seem obsessed with Jewish sex. It's bizarre. Yesterday, you actually spoke about Ben Shapiro's wife.
Yes,
you actually you said to Ben Shapiro, your wife's a coward, but you're more of a man. Is that what you're trying to say?
I did.
Then you said that Jews have BDSM. You're speaking about sexual lubricants while people are dying. You know, Mohammed, get your head out of the Jewish bedroom. It's really bizarre.
Let me
be clear. Sexual lubricants? How embarrassing.
It's kind of funny, but he kind of messed it up because now he's just going to go off on that. Because he made a good point in the beginning. Because you can't argue with that. And he referenced that like an Israeli leadership actually saying all Palestinians deserve to basically die as a genocide. Yeah. You can even see you can see a bunch of tweets and stuff like that about Israeli leaders that are just being racist. Yeah. It's not even hidden.
Yeah, they're animals, and then like you have some U.S. Republicans saying turn them into a parking lot. Obviously, close ties with Israel, right? So there is a huge faction of people out there that don't like all Palestinians, sees them as animals that should all be wiped out. If you believe that, you're inhumane and you're backwards.
Yeah.
You sell dildos.
Can we get it back? Can we get it back to the topic?
You speak about 5-year-old girls being ready for sex. Listen. Let's go back to the issue. Let me ask a question.
Why are you shaking? I've got a vibrator in your pocket.
Come on, it's a serious debate.
I think he's got one of his daughter's vibrators.
Come on, leave it, please. I don't disagree with you. That so far, it seems to me, obviously, a fact that many, many more Palestinian civilians, innocent people, are getting killed as retribution by the Israelis for what happened on October the 7th. That's indisputable, right? Their argument is that they're going after a terror organization, Hamas, and unfortunately in war, as Rabbi Shmuley correctly said about what Churchill did in World War II.
Churchill was wrong.
Churchill
was wrong.
Okay. Was he a war criminal?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Churchill was a war criminal.
Yes, he was. Churchill was a war criminal.
All the British
Churchill does not have a very clean history like many act like he does. And this is kind of the same thing with many historical figures. So it's okay to criticize a historical figure. You can't, you close your mind once you limit the amount of criticism you can have for any kind of discussion, person, or topic. You have to be open-minded to what the person says. And if someone says, hey, Churchill, although he got his means, or he got the means to his ends, he got the success, right? You have to consider, like, is it not open to criticism then, the carpet bombing of Germany and millions of people dying? Of course, that can be criticized. It's probably a better way to go about doing that. And those attacks, those bombings actually happened before Germany's carpet bombings, I believe, which is normally seen as a very obviously oppressive and horrific thing. But then it depends on what side you're presenting the whole argument from. If you're from if you're kind of
history
like Western,
is written by the winners.
Exactly.
So since the West is the winners and the leaders, I mean, he did do a good thing by ending Hitler, but also like the end doesn't justify the means.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not talking about like who was kind of morally upright in the war overall. We're talking about kind of like the actions that led up to the ending. And this specific action from Churchill is not some
just
great
because one doesn't mean it's right to kill innocents.
Right.
It doesn't make the end, doesn't justify anything. That's plain wrong. You can't ever justify killing
especially if you
innocents.
look. The thing is, especially if you're like a religious person, if you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim, you understand that there are certain laws when it comes to war. You cannot do certain things. And the indiscriminate killing of civilians is forbidden in all of the Abrahamic religions. So if you're any of the three faiths, I really don't know how you can defend these kind of actions without being hypocritical.
Even if you're just a regular human, killing an innocent is plain wrong.
Like, it's easy to say
innocent human.
It's easy to say it's necessary when it's not you and your family. Put yourself in that situation. You know?
Yeah.
You're not going to sit there and be like, yep, our house is going to be bombed any minute and we deserve it just because we live in this land. No, man. You were born in this world. You have a right to live. That's the whole point.
Was war criminals. Okay, and Georgia 6 was Georgia 6 war
criminals. All of them war criminals. Yes, of course.
So anyone
his
hang on,
war criminal.
Let me ask you. So let me get this straight. You think
collective punishment?
You think Winston Churchill
was a war criminal
in standing up to the Nazis
by killing
who killed 12 million people?
I believe he was a war criminal.
By doing what he did was a war criminal.
By killing in Dresden and Hamburg, by the indiscriminate killing, collective punishment. My morality says
collective punishment. Yeah, the UN nowadays says that that's a war crime. So if we're going to go by international law standards, right, which is what the whole conglomeration of kind of the understanding of what war should be like nowadays and their policies, if it's a war crime, then you kind of have to reflect back on that and be like, hey, you know what, that wasn't really the best action. Yeah. These kind of things are outlawed now.
It's not some black and white thing.
Yeah.
You have to look at it properly.
Well, who supported him and voted him in. They were also... Just a second.
That's why I believe.
But the British people...
Yeah. You believe he was a war criminal?
Yes.
So therefore, your belief is that no retaliatory action.
No, you can retaliate to the man, not to the babies.
Tell me a war in history
where
civilians haven't been killed.
No, I'm not saying civilians haven't been killed. It's
just
about this ratio.
It's about the ratio.
It's about the ratio.
What is the ratio?
What about the ratio?
100 to 1 is unacceptable.
Actually, morally,
100 to 1 is unacceptable.
Actually, morally,
you accept.
Okay,
101 is an invention.
Hang on, Rabbi Shmuley. So let me give you a ratio.
Yeah.
How many people did the Nazis kill?
I don't know.
You don't know.
We know they killed 6 million.
They killed 12 million people.
I don't know. We don't know.
Including 6 million Jews.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So
12 million
how many died in Dresden? How many civilians died in Germany? Do you know?
I don't know exactly.
Right. So you don't actually know what you're talking about.
What? No. Okay. I remember Piers made this point, and it's dumb because saying you don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, countless civilians died. That's the point. That's the point that Mohammed is trying to make.
No, in Dresden and Hamburg.
You said,
yeah, it's like
I don't know the history myself though, but
like
saying you're just bombing a whole country.
We know the carpet bombing happened for sure, and with that, we know that countless civilians died. Like those two things are you don't need to be a historian to know that, right? So it's like that is wrong. That is not. You know.
Said it's about you. Unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
Unless I'm wrong,
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
said it's to do with the
Ratios.
The ratios.
Yes.
You don't know the ratios. When
I know for a fact.
You call Winston Churchill a criminal.
President Hamza.
What are the numbers?
Wait a minute, Rabbi Shmuley. When you call Winston Churchill a criminal,
I believe
you're
a war
basing
criminal.
it on ratios you don't even know.
Oh, damn. They both, I think the rabbi did a bad job. And I'm not trying to be unbiased. Many people agree as well.
He was extremely emotional.
Yeah, even Piers at the end of the original thing, he said you were worse.
Yeah.
The rabbi was worse. Piers agreed too. But at the end of the day, it was more like entertainment because nothing really happened from this. There's no building any bridges. There was no understanding anything.
Right.
Even Mohammed Hijab,
Bit
even though he's funny, he just made a mockery of it. Like he's just wasting time too.
Yeah.
Like, and he kind of gave the rabbi more ground by making these dumb jokes.
Kind of low
Because then
low arguments.
He just went through the jokes and not through the arguments that he was making.
Well, Muhammad, I will say, made a lot of kind of impenetrable points about the morality argument of countless civilians dying. Kind of the
100 to 1 ratio. If you want to kill Hamas, you have to kill all Palestinians.
Yeah. So
then he ruined it by the joke at the end.
Right. Yeah, he's gonna make people take him less seriously. But I think if you just go back and reflect on what Muhammad was saying, what he's saying is not really opinion. What he's saying is kind of it is factual.
Yeah.
The amount of civilians dying, it's not justified. These are war crimes. These are things you cannot debate against.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The bottom line is this: Israel's retaliation is an overreaction, and it's inhumane, and it's cruel, and it's wrong. That's what the verdict is.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let us know your thoughts down below, and assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.